This is where tenacity and perseverance has to set in for women. You have to stand strong. Whatever that goal you want to reach is, you got to stay with it. You got to maintain it no matter what is said. You know, even though you're overlooked at one time, you got to persevere and you got to maintain to keep that goal. Two, it closes off possibilities to certain careers, positions, and salaries. You know, women make 77 cents for every dollar earned by a man. But those women who stand strong, who has the tenacity, who persevere, they make equal to the man because they don't back down and because they stand strong and because they believe in who they are and they surround themselves with people who believe in them. But I was talking about so many different things when I was on my job. And I remember the men would say so many different things to me. And, you know, they would even make little sexual advances. And, you know, I kept going. And back then, you know, sexual harassment wasn't as strong. And, you know, they didn't pay attention to it as much. You know, but I persevered and I overlooked that and I stood strong and I believed in myself first. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you better than you believe in yourself. But there's one thing that I realized when I was going through all that. I realized that there was tools for me to get over my grief in the workplace, even that glass ceiling. One, I call them the ABCDs. One, my attitude. The wrong attitude will fuel the fire. See, if you give in to what they're saying and you lash back out, that just gives them more reason to go back at you. Even though you're upset, you have to find a way to get over it and you stay on the path to reach your goal. B is the behavior. How I conduct myself through this grieving process is important. Even though I'm grieving, I must conduct myself in a professional manner at all times. This will bring positive observation from others, especially the ones who overlooked you. C, the communication. Communication is really key. Finding someone to talk to while you're going through grieving process will allow you to release that negative energy. It will allow you to release a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness. You know, you don't want to have that build up because then it becomes a seed inside you. And then what happens with a seed? When you plant a seed, it grows. You have all kind of roots and stems and you have flowers and then you got all these layers and that you haven't got rid of. So when you go on to the next job, you're still having trouble because you still have that seed because you haven't gotten over that grieving process because you didn't deal with it in the first place. Indeed, discipline. You maintain control mentally and physically in order to stay on the path to your goal. You have to, if you know what you want, you know what your goal is, you're going to stay the course, no matter what is said, because we're going to have ups and downs. Everything is not peachy keen, you know. I look at so many times, you know, when I started a business called Gwynn Sports back in '93, and it was a merchandising business, and that was also a male-dominant business. The silk screening, the embroidery, that was a real male-dominating business. And I remember the first people that I called on was the Padres because I had created these things. And he came to the shop, and I won't call his name. He came to my shop, and he was really, really impressed. And he said, you know, I got to tell you, I said to the front office, those at the office, that, you know, Alicia Gwynn called, and, you know, I'm just going to give her the courtesy of just going there because I know there's nothing there because, you know, I'm sure, I can't imagine her wanting to do anything. And he was very honest with me. He said, you know, I am so floored and I have to apologize to you because, you know, before I came here, I told everybody, oh, she's just trying to find something to do. She has nothing better to do with her time. And, you know, it went on and on and on, you know, being in that industry, dealing, every time you went to the meetings, you know, you'd see nothing but men, you know, and I started creating different logos and different things, you know, in Major League Baseball. I went and applied for licensing, and I had a licensing for baseball. And, you know, today I can say whenever I see a lot of the Major League Baseball people back in the day, they said, you know what, you were actually the pioneer of creating a lot of logos and things. And now they recognize that, but it wasn't easy at first because number one, I had 2 strikes against me. Number one, I was Tony Gwynn's wife, and so they thought, you know, they think every wife, all they do is shop and sit around and do nothing. But, you know, when I married my husband, I was working. In fact, I was working and he had to go to the minor leagues, you know. And so that was his first job. So I always worked and I always knew what I wanted, you know, and I always knew what careers that I wanted. And so the other strike was I was a woman. And working in a man's industry, what they call male-dominated industry, it was very hard. But one of the things that I persevered. I will never tell you that I didn't grieve because sometimes I did grieve because when I know that my product was better than that particular male and he got the job, I went through a grieving process sometimes, but I learned how to deal with my grieving. I learned how to get over that process. And so I say to women today, you might go through a grieving process, but you have to get over it. You have to get through it. And it's not always easy, but if you persevere, and if you think about that goal that you want to reach, you will make it. You will pass over the grieving process, and you will make it, and you will reach your goal. Thank you.